As we get people back to their seats, again, I think Aaron Thomas said it, social media, try to get out there and say some things out there. We love to have comments on what's going on today. We love to have other people know what's going on, make them aware of this, and the many opportunities that are out there for them. I'm here to introduce the next speaker. Our next speaker is Lisa Brinkmeyer. Lisa was a multi-sport athlete at Hubbard Radcliffe in the early 90s. Her senior year was the last year of girls 6-on-6 basketball, where she led her team to the state championship. She was named Miss Basketball of Iowa that year. Ms. Brinkmeyer continued her career in basketball at Drake University. While at Drake, Ms. Brinkmeyer was instrumental in guiding the Bulldogs to the MVC regular season title 2 times, as well as the MVC tournament championship 3 times, and also went on to play in the NCAA tournament 3 times. Currently, Ms. Brinkmeyer is an assistant director at the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. She is administrator for girls volleyball and golf and oversees the sanctioning of events for foreign exchange student participation in cooperative sharing agreements and assists with all state tournament events. I would like to introduce you to a great sports figure and role model for our state that played right here in our state, and that is Lisa Brinkmeyer.
Hello. I want to start with a quick story about Mr. Thomas, Coach Thomas. Aaron is what I call him. AT is what we called him. We actually played at Drake at the same time. I was on the women's team, obviously. Aaron was on the men's team. And there's some stories about Aaron because he was a great athlete. And one of them, he lived in a house with a bunch of his fellow basketball teammates. And one day the phone rang, and his buddy was like, "Aaron, it's Sports Illustrated." And Aaron's like, no, I'm having a great year, making lots of baskets. I don't want to curse myself with talking to the media right now. Let's just let it go. So the guy said, hey, Aaron's not available, and hung up. A couple days later, phone rang again. His other buddy was like, Aaron, Sports Illustrated. Aaron's like, no, I don't want to be on the cover of that. I'm having a pretty good year. I don't want to really talk about all my accolades, so they hang up. A week later, Aaron was home by himself, probably studying, prepping for the next big game in college, and the phone rang again. Of course, he doesn't have a cell phone. We didn't have that way back then, of course. So he answered the landline, and it was Sports Illustrated. Aaron said, before you start, I don't want to talk about myself. That's not the kind of guy I am. I'm having a great career. Yeah, I score lots of points, but I don't want to talk about that. So there's a long pause, and then he said, oh yeah, you want to talk about my team? Yeah, I play with some great guys. Yeah, from all across the country. They're awesome people. And there was another long pause. And she said, actually, Mr. Thomas, I want to know if you want to renew your subscription. See, I had to get my little jab in on Aaron because I agreed to speak here today as long as I didn't follow Aaron. He's so outstanding. And then I saw the itinerary. I'm like, oh, great, I've got to follow Aaron. So I had to start off with a little bit. Just joking. I'm sure he did talk to Sports Illustrated that day. Anyway, like they said, I am Lisa Brinkmeyer. I work for the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. And being here is very exciting to me. I don't feel like I'm that far out of high school. I mean, Aaron probably feels the same way. I really don't feel like I graduated that long ago. I know I look ancient to you guys, but really, when the bell rings, I feel like I need to take off. Or my heart starts beating fast when I go out and speak in schools, and that darn bell rings, I feel like I'm late, because sometimes I was a little late for class, or I had to run in the hallway to get to where I needed to be. So for me, it takes me right back to that. And with the Girls Athletic Union, we get asked to go out and speak to schools a lot. A lot of times it's boring things like rules meetings and policies. So when I get a chance to go out to speak to schools about sportsmanship or how athletics have impacted my life, how they can impact your lives, I love to do those sort of things. So when I got asked to speak about leadership and to a group of promising young high schoolers like yourself, I jumped at it. I couldn't wait. Because I know how much I gained from my time in high school, having people talk to me, and actually not even knowing the foundation I was building for all those leadership skills, just being in situations like you're in right now. And maybe I would have paid a little more attention too if I would have had some of the great speakers that, not including myself here, the great speakers that you guys get to hear today and go through some of the seminars that you have. I would have realized that at a younger age, how I was building myself for the future. Okay, I've got to, oh, see, this is one of the only pictures I had, guys, of my high school days. But really the point of this picture is, it is at the state tournament after we'd won a championship game. The point of this is, I grew up in a town called Hubbard. Has anybody here heard of Hubbard? Any South Hardin people here today? There you go. I grew up, and there were 32 people in my class in Hubbard Radcliffe High School. A quarter of my classmates are in this picture. My kids, I've got a son and a daughter. My kids are going to go to Valley High School or if we stay in that area. There's 700 kids per class at Valley High School right now. That's as much, just almost as much as what was in my hometown. So for me, it is a little bit of a growing experience to realize that, my kids aren't going to get the small town upbringing that I did, but I'm very passionate because I had that. After I graduated from Hubbard Radcliffe High School, I went on to Drake, and I got to play there. And then after I got to play, I got to coach with Lisa Bluter, who's now the Iowa women's basketball coach, and the only coach coaching in the NCAA tournament from Iowa still. Go Hawkeyes, right? Sweet 16 tomorrow night. Anyway, so I was very lucky to get to play under Coach Bluter and to coach with her because she's obviously a great leader, a good role model, and someone that was a great mentor for me. And then now I've been at the Girls Athletic Union for 11 years. So when I started at the Girls Athletic Union, I was this young little kid. Everybody had been there what seemed to me 100 years. And now I've been there 11 years, and they're like, Lisa, you're kind of one of the older ones now. And really, I'm still one of the youngest people that work there. So I still have got that going for me. But I do love my job. And like I said, my family, I've got 2 young kids. And it's interesting how my perspective has evolved since having children. I'm a lot more cognizant of my actions, of what my motivations are. And it's been a lot of fun because I look at this picture and I think, when I was a senior in high school in this picture, my successes, the way I gauged my successes were much different. I was thinking points and winning, and that sort of thing to me was successful. And now I look at this picture and I think success is the friendships that I've maintained with the people in this picture, the families we have, the memories we still are creating, and the ones we have together. I mean, that's the success for me now. All right, enough about championships. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. Because the things that I got to do in high school really molded me to who I am today. And I wasn't, like I said earlier, I wasn't aware of a lot of things that were being instilled in me while I was participating in the activities that were offered to me. First of all, the Girls Athletic Union, we're the only organization in the nation that is solely devoted to girls athletics. Every other state in the country has one organization that oversees boys athletics, girls athletics, music, and speech. In Iowa, we're very, very lucky and unique that we have 4 organizations with 4 separate directors that can focus primarily on their situation. So we've got a speech director that all he does is oversee speech and drama. We've got a music director, and all he does is oversee music, band. And obviously the Boys Association, they oversee boys athletics, and the Girls Union oversees girls sports. And that's what's really awesome about us, is that we can really focus and give you guys all the opportunities that we possibly can. There's over 70,000 students that participate in just girls athletics alone. There's over 40,000 people that participate in speech each year in Iowa. I mean, how many people here participate in a sport, in speech, in music, band? Raise your hand, let's see. Now, raise your other hand if you participate in 2 things. If you participate in band, well, look at that. That's pretty awesome, guys. That's awesome that you guys have that many opportunities and you can be in positions where you can learn and do lots of fun experiences and have an organization that solely is devoted to what you're doing. I find it very rewarding to work for the Girls Athletic Union. And part of it is because my life has come full circle. Again, it seems like it was last week I was sitting in seats like you guys and going through the motions, playing sports, out for speech. I did try music. I wasn't very good at it. My brother told me to stop singing in church. That was kind of my cue to maybe not take on a professional singing career. But But I love that I had the opportunity to do those things. And it fills my heart with joy. And I'm so passionate about what I do because I had the experiences that I had up till now. I mean, in my job, I have a front row seat to see people fulfilling their life dreams. And obviously, they're only like 14 through 18-year-olds, and that's their life dream to that point. But you guys have, spent time in the driveway shooting baskets. You've gone to multiple band lessons all through the summer. You've done all these different things to get where you are at the pinnacle. And right now, the pinnacle is the state tournament for a lot of people. And I get to have a front row seat and watch that. And I know that I'm still passionate about it because every state tournament, I still cry. I cry if they win. I cry if they lose. I cry if someone gets hurt. And you know what's neat about it? So does everybody else there. I see dads crying. They try not to cry, but they always cry. Moms cry. Moms usually are comforting dads because they're crying because their girls won or their girls lost. But that's what I love. I love that I get to be a part of that day in and day out. All right, enough about that. Anyway, so the Girls Athletic Union, that's what I work for. That's who I work for. Okay, now what to expect? Click, got it. I know you're here to learn. Obviously, that's why you're here. You're here to grow. My husband's a high school teacher. I don't know if I said that before. He told me 3 keys to talking to high schoolers when I started going out speaking. Of course, he knows everything, but because he is a teacher, he said, 1, show videos. 2, don't talk past your time. 3, be funny. And I was like, all right. He's like, remember 2, don't talk past your time. No one wants to hear you talk too long. So I said, all right, yes, I got it. So anyway, today, I'm not going to talk past my time. I am going to show some videos. I'll try to be funny. I think I'm hilarious. Whether you do or not is your own deciding. But I'm going to talk about the foundations of leadership. Like I said, a lot of the things that you're doing now, you are developing these leadership qualities. You just don't know it. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about following the leader. To be a good leader, you have to have followers. And maybe you don't want to be a leader. Maybe you just want to be a follower, and that's fine too. But these are things for you to see and recognize in that process. And step 3, I'm going to talk about taking the lead. And when you find yourself in that position, what you can do, or maybe how you found yourself in that position. But those are a couple things I want to talk about today. And again, I'm going to stay on time, be funny, videos, blah, blah, blah. Don't want to upset my husband. Okay, building the foundation. So when I talk about this building the foundation, and I'm going to refer to this throughout visiting with you guys today, there's lots of little key points. One of the things is, think about a leader in your life right now. I mean, it could be your older brother or older sister. It could be your pastor. It could be your coach. It could be your band director. It could be President Obama. I mean, they've got little ones and they've got big ones. But you think about a leader. And what's important about leadership is, how is that being applied to the foundation to lead? What is it about them that you like? I mean, something about them that you like, that's what's passionate, or that's what's in you and what makes you passionate about it. And for me, like one of the key qualities of leadership for me is passion. In order for me to talk about something, I have to be passionate about it. In order for me to really do something, I can probably do it. It's probably gonna be half-hearted, but if I really believe in it, I love to do it. I love to go all out and do it. And that really is important for me. That quality is important, passion. I mean, maybe for you it's intelligence or drive, or you can have whatever you want, but decide what it is, because that's important for building your foundation. And I've got some keys up here, and these keys I feel are very important to leadership. And you've got to have that in yourself before you can really move on to a position and expect others to believe it. And one is discipline. You guys are at a point in your life right now where you're getting to decide some things on your own. Your parents haven't let you decide a whole lot up to this point. They probably still tell you what to do, but they're giving you a little more freedom to decide. You've got to discipline yourself with some of those decisions that they're giving you and the freedom. Like your decision, put your phone down when you're texting, when you're driving, when you're studying. Go to bed earlier. Some of these things are just discipline. Should I take that AP course or shouldn't I? Should I go out for track or shouldn't I? Those sort of things, you got to be disciplined. If you make the decision to do it, are you strong enough to follow through with it? Self-actualization. Say that fast 3 times, real quick. Self-actualization. It's kind of hard. I really have to break it down when I say it in front of people. Self-actualization. Okay. Anyway, and that's a process of establishing yourself as a whole person. I mean, this is what you guys are, I'm not even there yet. I don't even know exactly who I am and what I stand for. But self-actualization, I mean, that's something for you to figure out, what motivates me? Why am I who I am? What makes me happy? And that sort of thing. I'm not saying you need to know that right now, but you need to start figuring those things out. Because you're starting to think about college, you're starting to think about your future, maybe you're thinking about the class you're going to take next year, but you're starting to find your path. In humility, I mean, this is one thing that I do struggle with a little bit. Being in athletics, I see humility go by the wayside often, and it never ends well. I think that's something that success oftentimes trumps, and the people that are extremely successful remember that humility. They remember tripping up the steps. They remember, falling down on the basketball court, dropping the football. They remember those things, and it reminds them that they're not perfect. And one of my favorite quotes is from Ann Landers. Ann Landers was from Sioux City, Iowa. She was a very popular syndicated advice columnist. The quote she had was, "Don't accept your dog's admiration as conclusive evidence that you are wonderful." Don't accept your dog's admiration as conclusive evidence that you are wonderful. I love that quote. I don't even have a dog, and I think that quote's funny. You leave your dog at home all day long, and you get home, and that dog is so happy to see you. It jumps on your lap. You might have even forgot to feed him or her, and they are still so happy to see you. And I think what she's saying is, just remember your roots. Remember that you aren't perfect. You might be doing great things in your life, but always have that degree of, things could change, I could trip, something could mess up, and keep that close to you, because that's what's going to take you farther than what you think. And then finally, purpose, a sense of purpose. And I bet you are sick of hearing this purpose. Your parents are probably asking you, and grandparents and teachers, what are you going to do with yourself? Are you going to get a job? Are you going to go out for sports? What are you doing? Do you want to take a math class? Are you going to go to major in math in college? Do you want to be a doctor? They're always trying to find this sense of purpose in you. But really, this is the time of your life when you are. This is when you guys kind of get to step back and think, I'm starting to get in the driver's seat here. I need to figure out what my purpose is going to be. And I think there's lots of things to purpose, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. I'm saying, like, if you're your purpose in life is to help people, it doesn't mean that you have to cure cancer. I mean, it could be that you're going to pick up someone's books that fell in the hallway, and you're going to help that person to their locker and really turn their life around by making them feel better about themselves. I mean, that really could be the difference of helping people. But you got to start thinking about the purpose, because what's happening is you're starting to build this foundation right now of your future, and you're investing in this emotionally, in things that you're starting to really like. And basically what is happening, guys, you're growing up. You're really starting to find your way. Okay. Now, along the way with the foundation, does anybody know what bridge this is? The Golden Gate Bridge. Yes, good. San Francisco. Anyway, I put the biggest bridge. I thought that everybody would know what it was to kind of be my segue into this. Building a bridge takes a lot of time. Obviously, this bridge took a lot of time. But bridges can be destroyed very quickly. And what I want you guys to realize right now is you're laying this foundation and building these bridges that you're going to maybe have to cross back over down the road. And I'll give you an example. When I was in high school, I played basketball, and I was extremely competitive. Sometimes to a fault. I had an older brother who loved to block my shots in the driveway, push me around, tease me. I was pretty thick-skinned, and I wanted to win. And there was a couple basketball games that I know that got kind of tense, and I got a little aggressive. And now in the position I'm in, nothing bad, guys. It wasn't like I was thrown out of the game. But now when I started working at the Girls Athletic Union, I had a couple of the officials that were still officiating my ball games. And they're like, "Hey, Lisa, congrats on the position. Thanks." They're like, "Are you going to be handling officials, are you?" And I was like, No, why? And they're like, "Well, you know how excited you got in high school at one of the games we did." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Hopefully I didn't say anything to offend you or critique your call. I'm sure it was right." I'm sure it wasn't. No, they're like, no, yeah, you were fine. But I mean, it really made me step back and think, hopefully I didn't offend them. Hopefully I didn't do something that would make them think less of me, because now I'm in a position where I'm working with them. What if you offend someone, one of your teachers, and then you go to college and you want to marry their daughter? Or what if you've got a major problem going on and you need to go see a doctor, and the doctor is an official that you offended? There's so many things that you're doing now that really can come back on you. And not just the bad things. I'm saying like good things. I mean, you could be doing a great thing at school, volunteering, and then maybe down the road, you do run into that doctor and you're needing help. And the doctor's like, hey, you know what? I remember when you volunteered that morning and what a great job you did and the lives you changed. So think about that bridge that you're building right now. When I was playing basketball at Drake, the PA announcer was the former head of the girls' athletic union. Troy Dannon is his name. He's now the athletic director at UNI. And I wholeheartedly believe that Troy wouldn't have asked me to take a job at the girls' athletic union if I wouldn't have interacted with my teammates respectfully, with the officials. I mean, he sat on the bench, or not the bench, he sat on the scores bench and was the PA announcer for all the Drake basketball games. So I mean, he saw how I treated officials, he saw how I treated my teammates, my coaches, the fans, the bench crew. And I really feel that if I would have been anything but what I am, he probably wouldn't have asked me to join their team because he knew what I was in the heat of the moment. And thankfully, I didn't offend him like I may have done that official. So ethics and credibility are very important things. And you've got to remember that when you're building that bridge, because it could just take seconds and that bridge could be burnt and then you're done. And a lot of bridges can be repaired, but not all of them. So right now, when you're at the point in your life, you're very impressionable, but you're also making impressions on other people because they're looking at you now like you're kind of an adult. They're holding you accountable for some of your decisions. All right, video. See, my husband told me video. Let's go with this.
I think we all need a pep talk.
There it was.
We all need a pep talk. The world needs to stop being boring. Yeah, boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're good at that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. Well, it is a cereal. And if life is a game, aren't we on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team, be on my team. This is life, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. Two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, thorns, and glass. My parts broke. Wah! Not cool, Robert Frost, but roads that really weren't too fast. I want to be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude Jordan said, don't stop believing unless you drink a smoothie. Then you should get a better drink. Think that. Get a better brand and keep going. Keep going, and keep going. Will Michael Jordan have quit? Well, he didn't quit. No, he retired. Yeah, yes, he retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He would have never made Space Jam. Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. But I do know this. If everybody's good, they give the world a reason to dance. So get to it. You've just been pep talked. Create something that will make the world awesome. Play ball.
All right. Pretty good. Pretty wise words from a little kid. He's got brittle bone disease, which makes him very susceptible to bone damage, and he's had over 70 breakages of bones. I mean, and to think what this little guy has overcome and the message that he's putting out there, I mean, he has a grasp on it. He wants to change things. He's thinking big picture. I mean, he's not just also picking up books for someone that dropped it in the hallway. I mean, he's trying to change lives. And every time I watch this, I mean, it really makes me want to feel like a better person. Who wants to be a better person after watching that? Really? Who wants to dance after watching that? Well, what you can do, everybody stand up real quick. Just stand up. You're not going to have to dance. But I'm starting to get some of those stares that you guys have. So now you can sit back down. I just want you to stand up. But this is, now you should be re-energized, right? High school kids are re-energized, ready for more. I mean, this is precisely what I was talking about. You know, doing something. This is time for you to make your mark. This is your chance to figure out what you're passionate about and what you want to do. Because once you figure that sort of thing out, you know, then you're ready to lead. I mean, you used to probably be passionate about like watching iCarly or getting something done really fast so you could play your video games, you know, but your passions are changing a little bit now. So the second phase that I want to talk about is following the leader. You know, leaders need followers and followers need leaders. Sounds pretty simple, but that is the underlying message of our phase 2. President Reagan, Ronald Reagan. He was the 40th president of the United States from 81 to 89. That was a long, long time ago. Your parents probably weren't even born. TV was only black and white back then. I'm just kidding. It wasn't black and white back then. I was alive back then. It was color television. Anyway, he was also a radio announcer for Iowa's very own WHO Radio. Did sports there. But this quote that he has is something that I think about often. And you know, those of you that are involved in extracurricular activities, this really should resonate with you too, because you have coaches and leaders and bosses that are helping you with these situations. The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He's the one that gets people to do the greatest things. See, I want to run to class. That's like the captain of your team, whatever team you're on. He or she may not be the best athlete, and oftentimes the captains aren't, but they're the ones that can get their message to people on the team. You know, they can motivate people to play. They're the ones that are doing the right thing. You know, like, look at the NBA coaches. There's a lot of NBA coaches that weren't NBA players. They're probably really bad high school players. I know a handful of them weren't very good high school players, and they're coaching the NBA. Not because they were awesome athletes, but because they're awesome at getting people the message to be great. And that's why they're in that position. You know, even like looking at our military, some of the highest ranking officials in the military, they aren't fighting the battle themselves, but they've got the capabilities to motivate the masses and to get them to believe in them and the mission and to get them to carry out and be successful. And so when you're looking at the success of leaders, I mean, you've really got to look at the followers, the people that made these people and believed in what they're doing and bought into it because they had the same passions. Now, I know it's kind of getting a video thing here, but this video is really going to reiterate what I'm talking about with the followers. The followers of these leaders that were able to do great things through their leaders, and the leaders that were able to do great things through their followers. All right. Pay close attention, guys. Hope this isn't you someday. Have you guys heard of TED Talks?
So ladies and gentlemen, at TED we talk a lot about leadership and how to make a movement. So let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons from it. First, of course you know, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not two nuts, 3 is a crowd, and the crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. So, notice that as more people join in, it's less risky. So those that were sitting on the fence before now have no reason not to. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, but they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. So, Over the next minute, you'll see all of the those that prefer to stick with the crowd, because eventually they would be ridiculed for not joining in. And that's how you make a movement. But let's recap some lessons from this. So first, if you are the type, like the shirtless dancing guy, that is standing alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals. So it's clearly about the movement, not you. Okay, but we might have missed the real lesson here. The biggest lesson, if you noticed, did you catch it? Is that leadership is over-glorified. That yes, it was the shirtless guy was first, and he'll get all the credit, but it was really the first follower that transformed the lone nut into a leader. So as we're told that we should all be leaders, that would be really ineffective. If you really care about starting a movement, have the courage to follow and show others how to follow. And when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first one to stand up and join in. And what a perfect place to do that, Ted. Thanks.
All right, that's kind of funny. Actually, I saw that at the Character Counts Leadership Summit this past fall. I interviewed you guys there, experienced that. They showed this video, and I thought that was hilarious. And it fit right into Ronald Reagan's quote, "The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things." I mean, that guy did not have very great dance moves. You know, if you noticed, maybe it was because he's on such a steep hill. But he's the one that got the people to do the greatest things. I mean, did you see that everybody running? And I know this is a very small example of great leader. And please don't, I'm not trying to compare it to the things that President Reagan did. But after seeing this video, it's really made me cognizant of issues like this that happen in situations where, you know, the person that gets out there is really putting themselves out there to do something. And if they don't have that one follower, key person that gets up there and supports them, you know, takes part of the embarrassment, takes part of the blame, whatever they're doing, that first follower, it's hard to rebound. You know, that leader loses a lot of confidence. And they really aren't a leader because they don't have anybody that's buying into it. But when they get that one person started, and then a second, and then a third, you can just see it flourish in the leader. Like, hey, I've got something here. You know, I'm passionate about this. Someone else is following my lead. We're going to do great things.
About 10 minutes, please.
Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about the accidental leader. And I don't really know the right term for this. This is something that I've always just, you know, that I've come up with about this situation. I don't know if anybody here has heard of Lauren Hill. She's a 19-year-old from Greendale, Indiana. She was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor during her senior year of high school. Her dream was to play college basketball. She learned of her diagnosis 49 days after she had signed to play basketball at Mount St. Joseph's University. So she had reached her goal, and then she found out she had this inoperable brain tumor. Cancer made her very susceptible or sensitive to light, to sound, and she started losing the ability to operate with her right hand, and she was right-handed. So what'd she do? She wore protective glasses, she wore earplugs, and she learned to shoot better with her left hand, because obviously if she's a college athlete, she could use both. She didn't plan on this leadership role. She didn't plan to be thrusted into the position where she was. But what she did was embrace her situation. They petitioned to the NCAA to move their game up, their first game of the season, up 2 weeks so she could play in her first college basketball game because the doctors didn't think that she would live till Christmas. And what happened was this huge movement. I mean, they had to move the first game from the arena it was playing in to a massive arena in the same town that seated over 10,000 people because so many people wanted to come and support her. And in her mission so far, she has raised $1.5 million for pediatric cancer. And when I'm calling her as an accidental leader, I mean, she didn't wake up and think, someday I'm going to raise $1.5 million for pediatric cancer, and I'm going to be the reason for it. But what she did do was find herself in that position, and she excelled. Because there was something obviously she was very passionate about, and she knew that she had to do something to help all the people coming behind her. And you're going to find yourself in those accidental positions sometime. You know, you could be voted captain of your team. You could be voted first chair in band. You could be student body president. You might not expect to be in these positions, but once you find yourself there, you've got two paths you can take. You can take the good path, and you can use your leadership skills to change lives, to motivate people, to do good things. Or you can take the other path when you find yourself in an accidental leadership position. Maybe there's some bullying going on, and you're standing right in the middle of it, and they're looking at you to continue doing this. Or maybe it's a gossip circle. You can still come back off that path and right it. When you find yourself in those accidental leadership positions, it's up to you to make these decisions, and your foundation that you've been building and the decisions, the responsibilities that you've been given will help you pick that path. If you start veering off on that wrong one as an accidental leader, you can always turn around and right that path. All right, to our final spot, taking the lead. So now you've gotten to where you need to be. You've got the foundation, you have the followers, you know how to represent yourself. Now you're the big cheese. And it seems like I've done a lot of presidential quotes here. Just happens that a couple of these really fit in, and these are ones I really like. Whatever you are, be a good one. Abraham Lincoln, 16th president of the United States, and he really was in a very tough position. He had to unite his cabinet and the country to abolish slavery. And he had to do this with two sides that were extremely passionate in their beliefs. But what he did was surround himself with great people. Despite their differences, I think Congress could take a couple lessons from this too. Despite their differences, he surrounded himself with great people, and he got them to come together, to unite, to see one great thing. And the great thing about Lincoln is that he was also very humble. He wasn't afraid for someone to confront him and question him. Probably part of it was because he was confident in what he did, but also because he was humble enough to accept criticism and others' ideas. And that's not easy to do. Ask my husband. We go round and round, and he'll say, like, well, you were wrong. I said, well, I was half right. He's like, well, that was half wrong. But to me, anyway, it is hard to admit you're wrong. But going back to the humble thing, obviously, you need to have some of that, even to be a great leader. And maybe you're the head of the prom committee, and you are set on having black balloons. You're set on it. Well, then a couple of the committee members say, maybe we should think about red, and you don't like it at all. No. Well, they put some out, and it looks gorgeous. And you have to rescind and say, you're right, you know what? Red is better. So you're going to have to take some of those times when you open yourselves up to other people. All right. Communicate and motivate. When you're thinking about the people that you really enjoy of your leaders, you like it, you're drawn to these people. You're attracted, not necessarily attracted, but you're drawn to them because you're interested in what they're saying, and they're engaging people. You really like to hear what they have to say. So that's why you want to go say, oh, keep talking, keep going. I know you're not thinking about that for me, but you're like, just keep talking. I just love to hear what you have to say. And that's probably because part of that is their passions are your passions. And you really need to keep that in mind because right now you guys are very impressionable. And Coach Thomas was talking about that, about how you're so impressionable to the younger kids. The impressions that you're making, you might not think anybody cares or anybody notices, but eyes are on you. People are paying attention to you. They're engaged in what you're doing. They're very interested in you because high schoolers are full of life. I know it doesn't seem like it on Saturday morning when you're sleeping till noon, but you guys really are full of life. You've got your whole life ahead of you. And that's why with the motivation, you've got so many great times in your life ahead of you, and you can use that motivation to help other people just journey along with you. You can motivate them to do great things. If they're doing some bad things with the gossiping and the bullying, you can motivate them to change their direction because you guys can do that. And also communicate. You really need to be able to talk to people. And it's easier right now with you guys to pick your phones up, kind of check it out, not look around. But you guys really need to lift your eyes up and communicate because you're going to be our next leaders. And it's so important for you guys to understand what great leadership is because you guys are going to be that someday. And I know you could probably lead through some really funny text messages or Instagrams. I'm sure Snapchat, that was hilarious. But like Snapchat, they're not going to be around forever. And you guys are. You're going to be here to lead our next generation. So you have to be able to communicate and interact. And not everything is going to go your way. You have to have a plan B. And that's okay, because we wouldn't have the things we have today if everybody tried and succeeded their first time. There's lots of failures that go into these success stories. And when you are having a failure like this, it's better to just laugh it off. That guy probably didn't laugh right away because he probably hurt a little bit. And I guarantee the 6 farmers that were involved in this didn't laugh for a while, but I bet their wives did. And I bet everybody in town did that didn't have a tractor stuck in that field. But you can't fake it and be and get through life like that. Be real about it. It's hard sometimes, but mistakes are what makes us great. And kind of going back to Lisa Bluter, the women's basketball coach at the University of Iowa. She's been at Iowa for 15 years. She's made it to the NCAA tournament, I think it was 8 times. She hasn't been to the Sweet 16. And actually that goes back to her whole Division I career. This is the first time she's been to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. She's had lots of successes, but I mean, think if she gave up or lost sight of her goal, she wouldn't get to experience this. And I don't know if you follow her on Twitter or follow Jan Jensen on Twitter. They are elated. I mean, you'd think that the greatest thing just happened in the world, and you know what? In their lives, it has. One more semi-president quote. Eleanor Roosevelt. She was married to the 32nd president of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt. I love this quote. And you know what? Teachers, guidance counselors, who's ever here with you, students, I mean, this pertains to everybody. To handle yourself, use your head. To handle others, use your heart. And I know this is easier said than done, especially in your guys at the time of your life. You're dealing with a lot of peer pressure, a lot of outside distractions. Obviously, social media is extremely important for you to follow this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. And when I'm saying to use your head, when you think to use your head, really look at that text message and think, or whatever you're posting, is this a good representation of me? Is this a good representation of my family or my hometown? Would my mom or my grandma think this is funny or cool or not cool? You know, and when you're posting those things, I mean, you really got to think about your heart too. About this, if you're doing about someone or writing about someone or talking about someone, would I want that said about me? How would that make me feel? Would that hurt me? And one of the most important things is you kind of get caught in the moment. Things get kind of exciting, like I was in high school when I got a little excited in one of the games, and you know the refs remember that one. But tomorrow morning when I wake up, what am I going to think about this? Am I going to like this idea? Am I going to like this decision? Are my parents going to like this decision? So really, to handle yourself, use your head. And to handle others, use your heart. I'm going to end with one more video, and then I'm done. Again, this is Olivet Middle School football team in Olivet, Michigan. They went behind their coach's back to do something incredible. And the leader of this was never identified in this interview, but there's no doubt his followers were fully vested in his idea. No video? Oh, see? They went way behind their coach's back and it never happened. Okay, well, I'll just go over it with you. Sorry about that. This middle school football team had a boy that was their manager, and he was special needs. He was extremely excitable, and he loved to give hugs. And he went to all their practices, and it showed video of him and how he would hug everybody when they come to school, and he always wanted to be around the football team. And these football guys took him under their wing, and they walked around with him in school, and it gave him all this confidence. Well, the plan that these kids devised was to let this boy score a touchdown, and no one knew about it except these kids. So the quarterback did a little quarterback sneak, was running down the field, fell at the 1 yard line, and you can hear a parent in the crowd go, "Oh, come on!" You know, plain as day. So they got it set up, and this boy had suited up, and they got him in the game, and you can just see, they highlight the video, these football players surround him, and they push him into the end zone. He scores a touchdown. And then they interview his parents, and his parents like, "We didn't even know what was happening. My husband hit me and said, 'Get the camera out. Did you get that?'" You know, they totally missed it. But the mom said, the best thing about this is that he has guys that have his back, and that makes him feel awesome. And that's so true. I mean, he's got people, he's got followers now that make him feel awesome. And at the end of the story, there's a boy that was involved in it, and the guy interviewing him said, "You know, it seems like you're pretty into this. You know, what effect did this have on you?" And he said, "I tell you what, I was one of those boys," and, you know, paraphrasing this, that didn't really pay a lot of attention to him. And now I know how important it is, because by me paying attention to him and him getting that has made me a better person." And this little boy's crying. It's pretty cool. But you got to believe in something and use that passion to make a difference, no matter how big or how small it may be, but use it and make a difference. Thank you guys very much.